Hi, and welcome to PhDemystified. This is the premier podcast for doctoral students, new and old, experienced and aspiring. Our goal is to provide you with a bit of insider information to demystify the doctoral process and make your PhD adventure a little more fruitful and enjoyable. I'm Dr. Julianne Burgess, adjunct professor at Brock University.
And I am Dr. William Ankoma, Assistant Professor at St. Francis Xavier University. We are diverse folks with diverse perspectives, and today we're going to discuss how you can start preparing for your job search right now. We will share what an academic hiring committee may be looking for in a candidate for a tenure-track position, and what you can start doing now to get yourself ready. We're talking about tenure-track positions here, but it's always a good idea to be thinking about your future career opportunities, whether inside or outside academia. Now, for those already working in their professions but completing the PhD for promotions and other interests, you may not find this episode beneficial, but we encourage you to stick around and leave us your comments and suggestions, which may be useful for other listeners, when they come to read the comments.
That's right. Now, if you're in the early days of your PhD program, your job search may seem like a far-away dream, something you'll think about the day after you defend your dissertation. Mistake. If you're hoping to land a tenure-track position at a university, you really should start working toward your employment goals today.
Right. And, what a mistake it would be to wait till the tail end of your program before you start searching for a position. You need to start early. That's why this episode is really good for you.
Yeah. I happened to see a postdoc position advertised while I was preparing to defend my dissertation. I had no time at that point to put together a portfolio, a letter stating my research interests. I had no time for any of that. I was focused on preparing. But if I had only organized myself ahead of time, I could have hit the ground running. I could have applied for that. Yeah.
That's right. So it's important, friends, to note that hiring practices in the sciences are different from social sciences and humanities where we find ourselves. Other podcasters have the sciences well covered, so we're not going there. And we actually don't have the expertise there. We're focusing primarily on the social sciences and the humanities. As you know, our experience is in the field of education. Now, if you are thinking the committee wants to see research, publications and conferences, of course, you nailed it. You are going to do all of these things on top of your heavy academic workload, my friends.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the journey is, we told you in earlier episodes that it's winding. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. But does this sound impossible?
Yes, it does. But that's not the point. Let's just get started. So again, our question today is, what does the hiring committee want to see in your application package? Well, first, they'll be looking for your research expertise and dissemination. They're looking for your publications. Now, have you written journal articles, book chapters? Maybe you've written a book.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. Mm-hmm. And they also want your impact. Has your work made a contribution to your field? And they're also going to be looking at the quantity of your presentations and publications. So you've got a bit of work to do. But I think that there's an understanding in social sciences and humanities that you're a novice scholar, you're a newbie. You may only have a few publications. So what the committee will be interested in seeing is your research potential. So, Dr. Will, how do you demonstrate research potential?
Yeah, one way to demonstrate your research potential is with your research agenda.
And what's that?
Yeah, which is a research statement that presents your current, recent, and future research initiatives. You have to really be clear about that. Mm-hmm. What you are about, what you're doing, what you plan to do. Now, your supervisor should be offering you opportunities to work with them on research projects. That's kind of the ideal way. But if that's not happening, our suggestion is to look for research assistant positions, from other profs, other even departments. You can branch out of your department as well. Being a part of a research team provides invaluable experience with data collection, something you really need, data analysis and writing up the piece, right? And also sharing or disseminating the information, the findings. Now, networking is also key here. You need a good relationship with your supervisor, your committee members, and other faculty members. And it can also be people you meet at conferences. And you need these apprenticeship opportunities. It's so crucial. And I think Dr. J has an experience meeting people at conferences and building relationships.
That's true. And I'm thinking that your supervisor may know someone in the faculty who's looking for somebody to work as a research assistant. So your supervisor may be the source of information. If they can't offer you a position right away, they may know someone. And within your department, you may see emails coming through. This certain professor is looking for someone to join their research team. So take advantage of those opportunities. In the hiring committee, specifically a faculty of education, the committee is going to be taking a closer look at your teaching practice as well as your research. So your practical experience in the classroom, K-12 and post-secondary, they want to see whether the research you've done has had an impact on education practice. So how important, Dr. Will, do you think this little piece of the puzzle is, having teaching experience?
Wonderful, especially if you are going into a teacher education program, like I find myself. My institution, my faculty, the Faculty of Education at St. FX, you must have taught something, right? You should have had the chance to teach K to 12. If not, you will not even apply because it's a requirement. Okay. It's not the same for all other institutions or faculties of education, because there are those who don't have a teacher certificate themselves who teach in teacher education programs. But again, they may decline accepting you. Some of those, they would decline accepting you because you don't have a teacher certificate yourself, right? So those with teacher certificate already, looking at working in a teacher education program becomes a plus there. But that should not be a barrier. You should be able to work in a faculty of education or any other faculty. So having a teacher certificate is not a barrier here. But you have to read the job description well. Could be a requirement. So our suggestion is that it would be good for you to co-teach, teach a course alone, engage in teaching assistant work, use it as a stepping stone, right? You can also do a guest lecture. Just ask your friends who are profs to give you these guest lecture positions.
And you can even suggest what you could lecture on.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yep. So ask them to give you some guest lecture invitations. Can help to design a course or courses. So some of these opportunities may not be provided to you. I didn't get some of these earlier on, but when I realized that I needed them, I sought them out. Mm-hmm. So seek them out if you are not getting them right away. Right. Seek them out. Another suggestion would be to also write a reflection paper, with a research piece, right, tied into the teaching. Write a reflection paper on your teaching practice. Even if it's teaching assistant work you've been doing, do something on it. And this paper can critically explore your pedagogy, right, or a theory or a methodology. And then you can, shop around for a journal that will accept this paper for publication. Mm-hmm. There are online graduate student journals out there. You just need to search for them And it's actually possible that your faculty or the institution may have its own journal. Find out.
Great
And,
opportunity for a publication.
Publish with them. Okay.
And the hiring committee is also interested in, as you were saying, William, your post-secondary teaching experience. And part of this, this demonstration of your experience, is a teaching dossier or a teaching portfolio. This is a tremendous amount of work goes into this.
Yeah.
And it typically involves you coming up with crafting your own statement of your teaching philosophy. That takes a bit of work and thought. You want evidence of your teaching practice, both in face-to-face and online settings. Testimonials or comments on your work from your students, unsolicited would be nice. Okay to solicit a couple of strong letters from your students. And also, if you have designed a course, or revised a course, the syllabus is something that they would like to see, something that you've prepared. Course evaluations you've received from the courses you've taught are crucial, and you should try to include this within your portfolio.
Absolutely. So putting your teaching portfolio together takes
A lot of time.
A lot of time. And you don't want to wait till when you're about to finish your program. No, that would be a big mistake. So you need to start now. The very first course, the courses you've even taught before starting your PhD program, assuming you came in as a teacher, you really want to document these things. And every course you're teaching, every course you help design, every syllabus you help put together, a guest lecture, all these things, you want to start documenting them into your teaching portfolio. You can find lots of examples online. In fact, your institution or your faculty may have a center, a teaching center that can be of tremendous help. I use the one at Brock, Center for Pedagogy, something.
Yeah, CPI.
CPI, Center for Pedagogical Innovation.
Right.
Yes.
Everyone has a Center for Teaching and Learning, or some combination of these terms.
That's right. And in fact, to land a teaching position at a higher education level, your post-secondary teaching experience while you are working on your PhD is really, really important. And as we have already said, if these opportunities are not built into your program, you will have to make them happen for you. At the end of the day, you're competing with others from different institutions. In fact, even from your own institution as well.
You need to be proactive.
You need to be proactive and compete.
Yeah, no way around that. The hiring committee will also want to see your involvement in your professional community and the university. So they're looking for you to demonstrate your commitment to service. William, can you explain service?
Yeah, so before I even explain service, you may hear that the committee may be looking for 40, 40, 20, 40% of teaching, 40% of research, and 20% of service. Now, when we talk about teaching, all that goes into the teaching, designing a course, teaching a course, and all those things. And then research, publications, and conferences, and writing, and all those things, into research. But the service aspect is more of volunteer work, right? What is it that you're doing to help move your faculty forward by contributing some of your time, your institution forward also?
And for me, when my first encounter with this notion of service and volunteer, I assumed that the volunteer work I was doing outside in the broader community was service. And in some places, that may be true. However, what we're talking about is your service to your university community.
The community, right? The research community, the university community. So, by service, we're looking at formal committee work at your institution and, elsewhere. the leadership roles you've taken on, mentoring other students, what professional organizations, teacher organizations do you belong to, like in the Canadian Society for the Society of Education, or CSSE, then the American one that also has members from Canada and elsewhere, the American Educational Research Association, IRA, they say. So what are your contributions? Are you presenting during their annual conferences? Are you taking up positions of leadership there to contribute in growing these associations? So service, it cuts across. You really want to not just go through your doctoral journey without really volunteering, doing something. And remember, we did highlight this in one of the episodes, that the friends and the networking opportunities that you're going to make in service may surprise you. That will be the key to unlocking important doors for you. So as you teach, as you do research, think about your service as well.
And service can also be volunteering to review articles for a peer-reviewed journal, and you may get those notices in your inbox that a particular publication is looking for reviewers, and they also need reviewers for conference proposals. So it takes a little bit of time.
Right.
However, these things pay off for you because you learn what a good proposal looks like and what a bad proposal looks like. And the same with when reviewing articles for a journal. You need to understand what makes a good manuscript. So by going through this process of peer reviewing, you also get to see what the other reviewers are isolating and commenting on in a particular manuscript. It's all good learning, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you sit on committees or reviewing other people's manuscripts, right, other scholars' manuscripts, you are seeing what is it they're doing right. Why are you actually suggesting that this paper be accepted with minor revisions, or this paper be rejected? Maybe what they wrote does not align with the scope and the aims of the journal, which tells you that before you submit your own paper, it has to align with the scope and aims of the journal that you're submitting to, right?
Or if detail is missing from the methodology section, you're reading it and you're thinking, I don't know how they got from this point to this point. We need a little bit more information in this section. This inevitably will help you to improve your own writing.
Absolutely. So, yeah, moving on, we also want you to highlight your accomplishments for the hiring committee, right? We know you're not applying yet. You're just getting yourself ready because you may be in your actually first semester of your doctoral studies, but we just want you to be proactive by going for those awards and scholarships. And so you need to highlight them, right? Write them down, note them down in your CV, and be ready to talk to these things when the opportunity happens that, hey, we have this position, or you've seen a position and you're applying to. Also, you need to highlight the administrative or leadership roles that you will be privileged to have, and we encourage you to go for them. If you have been involved in mentoring or student supervision, or you're still involved in, you also want to spotlight all these things in your work. The cover letter that you will write, which we know that every cover letter is tailored to the job you are applying to, and then the letter of intent as well. You really want to start working on these things, in your first year, second year, doctoral studies, get these things going so it doesn't become a mountain of work for you. When you need it, it's already there. You just revise and, you're moving on.
Right, right. Now, something else that you may want to start thinking about is your stance. This is something that the hiring committee will be looking for as part of your teaching philosophy that's in your portfolio and in your research statement as well. So, William, can you explain a stance?
Yeah. So by stance, we're referring to, your position orientation or orientation towards an idea, right? We all have our positions, right? Our pedagogical leanings, our affiliations, and
Our passions.
our passions and things that, get us going. It could be your position, your orientation toward an idea or an issue. It could be your, again, as I said earlier, pedagogical stance in the classroom, right? Or a relational stance. How do you envision or how you envision your relationship with your students, right? Are you the teacher who thinks that students just need to be fed with information, the banking system that Paulo Freire talks about? Or you are the John Dewey progressive type, right? Where students need to have that experience with a phenomenon and then they can, reflect on it and then learning is happening. So where do you stand? Are you progressivist? Are you social constructionist? Whatever stance you are, you really want to articulate that. So
You could also be talking about your commitment to social justice,
Right.
equity, and decolonization. And you should consider highlighting whether you are a member of an equity deserving community as
it's
well.
very, very important, right? That for me, as a black man, I always say that because I am seen and judged by the color of my skin everywhere I go. So why hide it?
And it's also part of the job postings, too. You will see, preference given or consideration given to members of equity deserving communities, and they're asking you to identify yourself. So,
And sometimes it's not even preference or this. It's just they say identify yourself.
Right.
Right. It's good. Why? Because of systemic injustices that has happened, and as progressive institutions try to right the wrongs of society, they want to see, are we reinforcing the status quo, or are we really embracing social justice
and diversity.
and diversity in our work.
So, as we were saying, take a look at the current job postings. Look at the descriptions, the qualifications that they're looking for. It's good to know the kinds of jobs that are out there in your area and what the hiring committee wants to see. So, there is a lot to do. And if you wait until you have finished or are just about to complete your degree, you may find yourself losing out on opportunities because you're not ready, because you haven't done the things that you will need to do to make yourself a strong candidate. And those are things that you can start to do right now.
Right. And to add to having a look at the job description, I mean, while you're going to study for about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and you just started your doctoral studies, and we're encouraging you to look at job descriptions out there. Why? One reason is that it will help you know the jobs out there. It will help inform the research area, your research focus. Are you doing something that is relevant? Because these jobs, people are going to retire. People are going to move on. And if you're not having a look at these and you think you are recreating the wheel, you may be making a mistake. So you need to know what is already out there. That's why start early. This is what is there, and so I'm going to do my research in this area. And that will help you a lot. So we also want you to remember that as soon as you complete your comprehensive examination, in some programs, within 2 years, you do your comp, some 3 years. As soon as you finish this examination, you're no longer a doctoral student, but a doctoral candidate. Now, a major difference is that you no longer take coursework. all you're doing is you enter into the position called all but dissertation, ABD. And those with ABDs, or all but dissertation status, are considered for tenure-track positions in some institutions. You start getting sessional instructor positions also, and, limited term positions.
So this is important to know, that once you cross that line, you are one step closer to your dream job.
Yep. And why not? So if when you started semester 1, first year, you started documenting things, what is happening is that you're ready. As soon as you do your comprehensive defense, ABD, and if you think you can, get a position and start working right away, why not? It's up to you. If you can juggle the two, I couldn't have done it. I know some people who are still doing it. Some did it. I couldn't have done it because it's a lot of work.
And we have a colleague who has intentionally drawn out her years in the PhD program in order to set herself up by doing the teaching, the service work, putting together that portfolio, and as well as working, obviously, on her dissertation. But she very intentionally dragged out her program for another year or so that she could be ready when the time comes.
Right. So, yeah, Dr. J, it's really, really, really important that, when you start your PhD, you leave no stone unturned, you're proactive, and because it's not just studying, unless you don't need a job at the end of it. But if you do need a job, then some of the points we've given here are so, so crucial. But, finally, we also want you to begin thinking about who is going to be your referee. And it's usually not just one person, 2, 3.
Right.
Typically, they want 3. And, it's expected that your supervisor may be the number 1, and then your committee members. But also, as we said in other episodes, you could have someone with a working relationship, mentoring relationship from a committee that you sat on, writing you a reference. So you want to begin to figure out, who are these people who could write me a strong reference when the time comes? Actually, for me to apply for external scholarships, sometimes you need referees.
That's right.
And then to get your job, also you need a referees. So you want to build really strong, healthy relationships with these people. In fact, it's something you need to think about and identify, so you don't screw up the relationships you make along the way, because you won't need them.
Yes. Yeah, it's a small world when it comes to these things, so that's something to think about. So, bottom line, start working on your job search today. You won't regret it. And again, you'll hit the ground running. Well, that's it for us for today. You've been listening to PhDemystified. Thanks for joining us. And special thanks to Dr. Tiffany Gallagher of Brock University for her work on this topic. I'm Dr. Julianne Burgess.
And I'm Dr. William Ankoma. We would love to hear from you. Email us at phdemystified@gmail.com. And we'll chat with you again in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to PhDemystified. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe to stay updated on new releases. We love to hear from our listeners, so please reach out to us at phdemystified@gmail.com if you'd like to get in touch. This podcast is hosted and produced by Julianne Burgess, PhD, and William Ankoma, PhD, in collaboration with Brock University's Makerspace Studio. Co-produced and edited by Serena Atella. Music is High on Loungin' by Wax Lyricist. This podcast is financially supported by St. Francis Xavier University.